Hi, I'm Renarta Clanton Moyd. I'm a communications specialist with the Cumberland County Schools and your host of Get Connected. During this monthly show, we highlight numerous educational topics that face today's student, educator, and parent in the Cumberland County Schools. Every day, the Cumberland County Schools Early and Special Education Preschool program works to build a strong foundation of success for life through high-quality special education. Now, the school system takes its responsibility seriously and works as the lead agency for special education and related services to eligible preschool children with disabilities who live in Cumberland County. After this break, two guests from the Early and Special Education Preschool program will join us to discuss how the program is positively impacting the lives of children with disabilities on this edition of Get Connected.
The odds of a child being in a fatal automobile accident are 1 in 23,000. The odds of a child being diagnosed with autism? 1 in 166. The odds say it's time to listen. To learn the signs of autism, visit autismspeaks.org.
Horseradish. Is that for horses? Remember me, Mr. Lobster? From last Tuesday? Banana. 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 Here comes the rain. We need a hat. And why do we need a hat?
It's a giant.
That's right.
When you talk with your child, you build vocabulary, and learning starts long before school does. For more tips, go to bornlearning.org.
Again, thanks for joining us for this edition of Get Connected, where we're talking with Cumberland County Schools Program Specialists Jill Basnight and Elizabeth Fishbaugh. Now, both are from the Early and Special Education Preschool Program. Jill, Elizabeth, welcome.
Thank you.
I'm so glad you all are here. I've not had you on the show before, so this is a real treat for me. Okay, well, let's... That's good. I guess you're like, oh, not a treat, but nonetheless. Okay, just briefly tell us, what is your program about? What is the Early In program about?
Well, the Early In Preschool program is an exceptional children's program. We provide special education services to children with disabilities. We are actually one of 5 public preschool programs in the state of North Carolina, each having its own eligibility criteria. We serve children that are ages 3, 4, and 5-year-olds that would not be eligible for kindergarten, but they all would have disabilities.
Wow. Now, how do you go about recruiting students for the program? I mean, what do you do in order to bring those young people in?
The parents can call our office at 484-6761, and if they have concerns that their child may have a disability or developmental delays of any sort, and we have a screening process that we can take them through, or the parent themselves can make a referral, and a team of people will come together if they present with concerns and determine if they need any additional evaluations, and then after those evaluations have been conducted, IEP team will meet back again to determine if further services are needed, if the child is eligible for our program.
Okay, and you mentioned it, one acronym, IEP. We're gonna talk more about that.
Absolutely.
But you know what? When you mentioned to me a little earlier about referrals from parents, I'm sure that first of all, before a parent can make a referral, they see that there's maybe their child is just, may very well have a disability. Do you all run into parents who don't want to face that fact and maybe don't want to, feel kind of cautious about sharing that information in terms of getting their child care?
We have some of our children that come through the infant toddler program, and so they have already been identified as potentially eligible and having a disability. But many of our children come to us, they may have been referred through a pediatrician, maybe a friend, or it may be child care or the parent themselves. And yes, a lot of times when we start talking about a developmental delay or autism or another sort of disability, we're kind of that first point of contact, and a parent may not have heard that before, so we have to take them through the steps and talk with them and explain what that is and what that means, and what services are available out there for them.
And some parents, they just suspect that their child may not be developing, or they want to make sure that they're developing appropriately, and they'll call, and if we can screen, then we can help them to walk through that.
That's good, and it's good that you all are there, and I can tell with such caring hearts, because I'm sure even as a mother of a young child, you always kind of want to believe that your child is perfect, but no one is perfect. We do know that, but it's good to know that there are people like yourselves who are out there that are willing to kind of work the parent through, help them face those crucial conversations, and do things that will help that child as far as development is concerned. Now, go on.
Well, what is really critical with this as well is that if a child does have a disability, early intervention is all about getting those services to those children early. It's critical to get the services early to maximize their development.
Now let's talk a little bit more about that, Jill. As far as you conversating or telling me about early intervention, why is that so important? I mean, will it make a big difference?
Well, it really can, and statistics show that children who do receive the early intervention services have better outcomes.
Really?
And that they more than likely will need fewer services, specialized services in the future. Okay. So it pays good dividends.
That's good.
One of the things that a lot of times parents will ask when they first get diagnosed with a disability is, my child going to be in special education services forever? And so we always talk to them about the fact that our end goal is for them to be able to exit our services or have fewer and fewer services in a specialized setting, and always to look at that option of them being involved with their typically developing peers.
Okay. Now, let's go through this process. Once the child has been identified, you all are made aware of the child. The parent brings the child to the, to you. And what types of evaluations have to occur in order for you to, diagnose and make sure that you're giving the child the services that he or she needs?
Well, first they do it.
You first.
Right. First, they most likely will come through a screening.
Okay.
And then we'll look at the screening results, and then based upon that, a team will talk about further concerns.
Now, when you say a team of who?
This would consist of a BK teacher, birth to kindergarten licensed teacher, and the parent, and anyone the parent would like to participate in that meeting with that team, and they talk about the concerns, and they go through actually the forms that the department or the Division of Exceptional Children has developed in order for them to be sure that they've looked at every area to see if there's a concern.
They look at learning and behavior, if the child has communication concerns, and then if there are any types of physical, motor, sensory concerns are kind of the three areas that we look at, and it's a long list of questions that the parent very much provides the input for to determine at that point if additional evaluations might be necessary.
So now, does the child have to actually be involved in that process in terms of doing little puzzles or
Well, for the
tests?
screening, yes.
Okay.
But for the team meeting that takes place afterwards, not necessarily. It's more of the adults have the conversation based on the information.
And the test that the child goes through, it's nothing real difficult. Is it something that they need to study? Nothing?
Oh, no.
No, ma'am.
Okay, talk to us about that, because that could cause anxiety for
Yes,
some
ma'am.
parents.
Yes,
Oh,
ma'am.
yeah.
If the referral team determines that additional evaluations are necessary, we don't have enough information at that point to say that they're eligible for special education services, then they would go to an evaluation, and there's a school psychologist, there's a speech language pathologist, and they work together to do the screening instruments. They look at an educational, they would look at a communication language assessment. They also may look at a motor if that's involved for the child. And then they'll also do a general observation of a child just in their natural play environment. And if there are some motor concerns that might necessitate an occupational therapist or a physical therapist to be a part of that screening, then we would also have that person as part of the evaluating team.
That's great.
Right. And the initial screening is not as in-depth as the evaluation that, the subsequent evaluation that would take place.
Okay, okay. Now once it has been assessed, you all have done the final evaluation and you say, okay, we're going to offer these services to this particular child. Where do the children receive services?
Well, we actually provide a full continuum of services. We serve children in exceptional children's classrooms where all of their classmates are children with disabilities. We also serve children in the regular pre-K classrooms.
Okay.
We have itinerant personnel with the special ed license that would go in and provide those services.
Now I hate that, but saying some words that I'm like, okay, what does that mean? Itinerant personnel, what is that?
Those are teachers that actually travel from school to school, from location to location to provide special education services to our children. And they could be in a regular pre-K classroom on an elementary school campus or in a Head Start center and private child care, preschool, church preschools, homes.
Really?
Yes, they go into all those locations. And then we also serve children in developmental day centers. So we have a wide continuum of services.
So the children don't necessarily have to be part of the Cumberland County schools?
Well, they don't have to be enrolled in a classroom.
Okay.
They are Cumberland County school students by virtue of their eligibility for our services. But we don't have to
serve them in a wide variety of places.
Oh, wow.
And some of our students that only qualify for our speech language services, they may just receive services once a week for 30 minutes in like a rec center or in just any what we call a service provider location.
That's good. That is good. So you all stay pretty busy.
Oh, we're all over the county.
All over the county. Itinerant. Is that what you call? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, how many children are currently in the program?
We normally serve about 500 children per year. That's, give or take a few. About 300 of those may be children that receive the educational services, like in a classroom or through one of our itinerant teachers. And approximately 200 of those would be children who receive our speech services.
And how many personnel do you have kind of working with those?
We have
20 classroom teachers right now that are our separate classroom teachers, our 6 itinerant teachers, and then in our Title I classes, I think there's around 50 classes in the county, and we are actually currently serving children in about 35 of those classrooms this year, but that's our 6 itinerant teachers would go into those classrooms, and then of course our speech therapists, we have 6 or 7 with our early in program, and then of course children that are in a school building are served by the speech language pathologist that is in that school.
Now I'm sorry, Jill,
That's
did I
okay,
cut you off? I would assume as program specialist, then that's your job to kind of make sure people are where they are supposed to be, no?
Well, we have a lot of self-starters in our program.
Great, okay.
And they have to be when they're out in the community like that. But no, we work more with program development, program maintenance, and just a variety of things to keep the program moving and going.
And I would say we work and serve as a liaison of sorts between our teachers in exceptional children and our regular ed teachers, our principals out in our schools, and sometimes even the liaison between our community centers, Head Start. So we have a partnership with a lot of those places that's great, and we tend to facilitate some of that, although our teachers are the ones that of course are doing the direct service to the children.
Right.
That's good.
But because we're in the community quite a bit, we do quite a bit of the interagency work as well.
Okay, okay. Well, you know what, ladies, we're going to take a quick break, okay?
Okay.
Stay buckled up. Don't go anywhere, okay?
All right.
All right. All right. Stay tuned for more Get Connected.
explore new worlds. Read. Visit literacy.gov and let the journey begin.
Take my hand and start a brand new day. And together as one we'll start to see some change.
Underneath everything we are, underneath everything we do, we are all people. Connected, interdependent, united. And when we reach out a hand to one, we can influence the condition of all. That's what it means to live united.
Thanks for joining us for this edition of Get Connected. Our guests are Jill Basnight and Elizabeth Fishbaugh. Now, both are program specialists from the Cumberland County Schools Early and Special Education Preschool program, and we're discussing how this program is positively impacting the lives of children with disabilities who reside in Cumberland County. Now, Jill and Elizabeth, we were talking a little earlier about just, a lot of the work that you all are doing and how many of your itinerant, professionals are out around the county. You've got teachers in the classroom. I mean, you all are doing a lot of things, right?
Yes, we are. Mm-hmm.
It sounds, it's like when, you're busy, you're busy. And I'm sure you all have worked with the program enough to know and see the changes that have occurred over the years. Talk to us a little bit about some of those changes in this program.
Well, in the beginning, our program was all itinerant services. We were just out in the community, and it was just maybe in the early 90s when we first opened our classrooms in a school building, and they were all separate classrooms. The children all in the classroom, their classmates had disabilities. And then it was about all the way to 2010 when we first had our real presence of any students in a regular classroom of our children with disabilities. And then actually this year we have our largest population of our disabled students in regular classrooms. I think we have about 64 children in 35 regular pre-K classrooms, and that's a lot.
That's a significant change from the past. As Jill was mentioning earlier, we did have some partnerships through a Smart Start grant where we had a 50-50 blend of children in some very selected classrooms, I think about 3 across the county, to attempt to do inclusion. And then when we started in 2010, we had 5 sites, and we probably had a total of 20 children that we could say were really being served in that inclusive environment. So we're excited to be in the 2012-13 school year and have that many children being served across Cumberland County Title I preschool classrooms.
That's great.
At our max, we had 27 separate classrooms, and this school year we were able to close 7 of those and place those children in the regular pre-K.
Now, this is what the Inclusion Initiative, correct?
Yes.
Tell me, what are the advantages? I mean, I've read some bits and pieces about inclusion and how it does really help that student, but talk to us a little bit and share with our viewers, how it does help those students.
I think for our students, one of the biggest advantage is that they are in a classroom with typically developing peers that are good social and language role models for them, and so they are benefiting from those opportunities to grow and experience things, and the strategies that the teacher is using and the skills and the instruction are things that are good for all children, and our children don't have to be pulled out to work with the itinerant teacher or the special education provider, because that person is coming right into the classroom, and if they're in center time or they're in circle time or group time, they just sit right down and join the child with a disability that's been identified, but they also work with the typically developing children in that classroom as well.
And you know what, I remember reading that when the child is pulled out, they learn whatever particular skill right then. And then when the teacher returns them to the classroom, they may or may not use that skill. But when they're in the classroom with the other students, that skill is being reinforced over and over again.
Right, all throughout the day. And the child doesn't have to try to learn how to generalize that skill on their own. It's occurring naturally in their natural environment throughout the routine of the day.
That is awesome.
And their peers, again, are great role models. A
Reinforcement.
teacher, whether you're a general education teacher or a special education provider, you can't be in all places and all corners of that classroom, but children can rotate through all of those various center areas and group time with their peers. So they're getting that 24/7, 100% of their day services and skills and modeling.
Now, with the regular teacher, do you all have to do anything in particular to kind of help that regular teacher key in and understand what that child with disabilities is doing, whatever skill? Do you have to work with that teacher?
Right, and that the regular classroom teacher has a special education teacher from our program going into that classroom to facilitate that.
Okay, great.
They know the IP goals, they share those goals, and they work together to come up with strategies as to how to teach that goal. And they also, we can provide direct service as well as coaching and consultation, so that regular education teacher can carry on that instruction after our teacher has to leave to go to the next child.
Now, you know what? I hate to cut you off, Liz, but you know what? I have to do this for our audience, because I remember earlier I told everyone that we would share what IEP means.
Yes.
We, as educators, we have all these different acronyms. So tell us what an IEP means and what it does.
I was just getting ready to
Okay,
say,
thank you.
what that
We're right
was.
here. We're right there. Okay.
It's an individualized education plan or program. We kind of use them interchangeably, but it looks at the child's strengths as well as the child's needs, and so the goals are developed based on the skills or the areas that the child needs some extra help and support. It could be socialization, it could be behavior, it could be their language and their communication, or it could be their academic skills like their ability to identify shapes, colors, count, those sorts of things. And it also has a service delivery plan that tells how many days a week they might need that specialized instruction or more services. It can address if they need speech therapy or occupational therapy or physical therapy. But our itinerant teachers have provided the regular education teacher with a copy of that IEP so that everybody knows what the skills are that the child is working on. So if that itinerant teacher is not in the classroom, the teacher still knows what the areas of need are that need to be addressed, and that can be done throughout the day.
That's awesome. That make sure everyone's reading and singing off the same sheet of music.
Correct.
And and it's keying in to what that individual child needs. That's good. Every child, each child. That's a good thing. And you know what? I have here some information about technical assistance. And I want you to kind of segue into that, because I need to know what that means. I've been told technical assistance. What is that?
Well, as we have entered this inclusion initiative, we have received technical assistance from DPI.
Okay. Got it.
Actually,
got
it's from
it.
the North Carolina Early Learning Network, and that is a collaboration between DPI, Department of Public Instruction, and the Frank Porter Graham Early Childhood Institute at UNC Chapel Hill. And they have been walking with us through this inclusion initiative to support us, to guide us as we begin to include more children into the regular classrooms. And we've done this through a program design or instructional design called embedded intervention.
Okay, great.
And we're very excited about that, because we had been including children at various levels and in the past, but inclusion is more than just a child with disabilities being in the same four walls with regular children, typically developing children. It is making that inclusion meaningful.
Okay.
And through embedded intervention, which is what we've been discussing about how the goals are worked on throughout the day, throughout the regular routine, the schedules, all the transitions of the regular pre-K day. That's what embedded intervention is, and the child is able to learn those skills in a natural context.
And another big part of our technical assistance, we started by doing a self-assessment to look at our children and see how many children we were serving in the separate classes versus how many children we actually had in regular early childhood settings, either in Cumberland County Schools or in the community. And when we started our inclusion initiative and began our assistance plan and really talking about the embedded intervention, it really was in large part an intentional plan with Cumberland County Schools, the Title I pre-K program, as well as the Exceptional Children's Program, to look at the ways that we could blend those two programs together to offer those opportunities for children with disabilities to be included in settings with their typical peers.
That's good. Now, have you found that with the embedded intervention, and have you found that parents have embraced that and they're okay with that?
We've had yes, we have. You know, some were a little skittish at the beginning, and we could understand that. But as it has progressed, it's been very well received.
Good, good, good.
And it's been a good for children that have been in the separate environment and have gone to a regular early childhood environment this year, as we think about those preschool children that are now transitioning to kindergarten. As those parents have gone to the IEP meetings, they've seen, even if they were skittish when they started, as Jill said, they've seen the progress that their children have made, the gains that they've made this year, and so they are very proactive. If their child is going into a regular kindergarten setting, then they feel more confident to know that they're going to have success in regular kindergarten. And if for some reason that IEP team met and decided that that child needed to go back to a separate setting, the parents have commented about the fact that they want to pursue a mainstreaming option as soon as possible, because they know that their child can be successful in a large group of children. So it gives us a sooner time frame to be able to look at children that may be able to go out for music, art, PE, or even their academic subjects with a regular kindergarten class, even if they are in that separate EC classroom for kindergarten.
That is great.
So it's been well received.
It's given them an opportunity to be a member and participate in that typical experience.
Exactly, exactly. And
To
as a
develop
parent, you want that.
friends.
Yes,
Yes.
you want that
Make
for your
friends.
child. Now, I'm looking at the clock on the wall and I see our time is, can you believe the time is almost up?
Fast.
I know, it's gone by real fast, hasn't it? And I still have like a ton of other questions, but I won't upset our producer. I'll get straight on to it. But nonetheless, as we kind of round things up, are there any last words you'd like to share about your program and the success of the program and where you're going to the future, as far as the future is concerned?
I would just say that we definitely think of our program and the inclusion as a journey that we've been on. It's been hard work, but it's been intentional. It's taken a lot of planning, but we're excited because we've seen the results for the children. They've made much more gains just being around their typical peers than probably they would have been to be in an environment with children with all the children with disabilities. So we're excited to keep moving forward and go out more into the community as well.
That's good. That's good.
Yes. And early intervention is so important, and so we're excited to be able to provide that for the children in our community.
And once again, what is a good phone number, for you all in case a parent hears this and may want to give you a call to see about their child being placed in the program?
Our main number at the office is 910-484-6761.
Okay.
And we'll take care of you.
Yeah, and I do know that you all are, your information is there online, Cumberland County School System, at our www.ccs.k12.nc.us. And if they Google Cumberland County Schools, they'll find us, and you're under departments. All right, that's great. Ladies, thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Promise me you'll come back.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And this time, bring some of the children with you, okay?
Oh, yeah. Your studio will never be the same.
That's great, that's great. Well, on behalf of the Cumberland County School System, we want to thank you for tuning in to this edition of our show and for giving us a chance to help you get connected. Until next time.